Welcome to Crisis and Perception, where we dig into the systems that shape how we see the world. So, you know that feeling, that nagging sense that our language is getting worse? Well, what if the very changes that drive us crazy are actually signs that language is working perfectly? Today, we're going to explore that exact idea, pulling insights from linguist John McWhorter's amazing book, Words on the Move. All right, so let's just dive right into that big question. Does it sometimes feel like language is just falling apart? Like, people are using words all wrong, slang is taking over, and the whole thing is just going downhill. Hey, if that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. It's a super common feeling. I mean, you've heard this, right? Or something just like it. The word literally being used to mean, well, its exact opposite. And for a lot of people, this isn't just a quirky new thing. It feels wrong. It feels like a mistake, a sign that things are really going off the rails. This is the perfect example of the kind of stuff that makes people's skin crawl. So yeah, that feeling, that sense of constant decay, that's the crisis in perception we're going to dig into. But what if this whole idea is based on a huge misunderstanding of what language even is? Let's get into it. Okay, but to really get why we worry so much about this stuff, we've got to back up a step. Why do we even expect language to stay still? Where did we get this idea that there's one single, correct, unchanging way to speak? Well, think about it. For most of us, the way we formally learn about language comes from these really powerful places. Dictionaries tell you what words mean. Teachers mark your papers with a red pen. Style guides lay down the law. All of them work together to give us this really strong impression that language is a fixed system, like a finished product that we just have to learn and protect. And believe me, this is not a new idea. Back in the 1700s, when Samuel Johnson started writing the first great dictionary of English, this was his exact goal. He literally wanted to embalm the language, to freeze it in place and protect it from all the messy changes he saw happening. But here's the cool part. By the time Johnson actually finished this massive project, he had completely changed his mind. He realized that trying to stop language from changing was like trying to tell the clouds not to move. It's just impossible. So this really sets up two totally different ways of looking at language. The common view, the one we get from school, sees language as a thing that is. It's a set of rules, and breaking them is decay. But the linguistic view sees language as something that's always becoming. It's a decentralized system constantly being tweaked by millions of us every day. And in that view, change isn't decay at all. It's adaptation. So, to help us kind of shift our brains into this new way of thinking, John McWhorter has this fantastic metaphor. He says, instead of thinking of language like a stone building, we should think of it more like the weather. And it nails the point perfectly. We don't look up at the sky and get angry because the clouds look different than they did yesterday. We just accept that's what clouds do. They move, they change shape. McWhorter's point is, why can't we see language the same way? Right? So language isn't some ancient relic carved in stone. It's what happens when billions of people talk to each other every single day. It's a living system, and its natural state is motion. Change is literally baked right into its DNA. So how does this motion actually happen? Well, one of the main engines for it is something McWhorter calls meaning creep. It's not like a word just flips its definition overnight. Nah, it's more subtle. New little shades of meaning, new feelings. They just kind of creep in until one day you realize the word isn't where it used to be. Okay, so if words are always on the move, where are they headed? Is it just random chaos? Not at all. There's actually a hidden logic to it. And McWhorter's FACE framework helps us see the new jobs that these supposedly wrong words are taking on. He breaks it down with this really handy framework he calls FACE. It shows how words evolve to do really important social work for us. They help us emphasize factuality, like when you say, I truly believe this. They help us acknowledge what the other person is thinking, like saying, you know what I mean. They signal counter-expectation, pointing out something surprising, and they help us ease into tricky conversations. It's the hidden social machinery of language. Let's just zoom in on one of these to make it super clear. We'll take C for counter-expectation. A huge part of talking to people is pointing out what's new, what's surprising, what isn't the default. And our language is great at grabbing old words to do this new job. And McWhorter's example for this is, well, it's perfect. The word as here isn't just a swear word. It's doing a specific grammatical job. A big-ass pot isn't just big. It's surprisingly big, impressively big. That little word is flagging something that goes against your expectations. It's become a grammatical tool that we've all kind of invented together. So here's the absolute key takeaway. When a word like literally becomes a tool for adding emphasis, or a word like ass becomes a tool to show surprise, that is not a mistake. It's an adaptation. It's an upgrade. Our language is evolving to give us richer, more nuanced tools to communicate with each other. All right, let's start pulling all these threads together. Because when you put all these pieces in place, you can start to see this whole thing in a completely new light. What we've been trained to see as decay is actually a sign of a healthy, living, adaptive system doing its thing. And get this. This is maybe the most important piece of the puzzle. The anxiety we feel about language change, it is not new. It is not unique to us. It happens over and over again. Why? Because the way the younger generation speaks always sounds weird or lazy to the older one. Trust me, people have been complaining about kids these days and their slang for centuries. This might be my favorite example of all time. In 1712, Jonathan Swift, one of the greatest writers ever, complained about this new lazy trend where people weren't pronouncing the ed ending on verbs as a separate syllable anymore. He just hated it. He thought it sounded awful. And of course, today, that mistake is just how we talk. He was seeing adaptation, but calling it corruption. So what's the big picture here? It's that language isn't some museum piece we have to keep under glass. It's a tool. And just like any good tool, it's always being sharpened and modified by the people who use it, us, so it can do a better job of meeting our needs. And just to be clear, all of these amazing ideas, the cloud metaphor, the face framework, this whole new way of looking at language change, they all come from this fantastic book, Words on the Move, by John McWhorter. And that right there brings us back to what this is all about. This is a classic crisis in perception. We have this belief that language is falling apart, and it's shaped by the system of formal education. But when you get a better tool, like a linguistic perspective, you can see the exact same thing in a whole new way. And honestly, it's kind of beautiful. So I want to leave you with this one final thought to take with you. The next time you hear somebody use literally when they mean figuratively, or you hear some new slang that just grates on your ears, pause for just a second. Ask yourself, what if you're not hearing a mistake? What if you're hearing the sound of language in motion, the sound of it adapting, evolving, and working exactly the way it's supposed to?